The following has been brought to you by SJP World Media.
You're listening to In the Corner with BenNy Mac. Unfiltered, uncensored, and unforgiving. Here's the man in the corner, BenNy Mac.
Welcome to episode 13 of In the Corner. Glad you can stop by. Hope you're all doing well. If you haven't listened to the 2-hour supersized episode of Clash of the Castle, what a freaking show that was. And if you haven't listened to it already, you're doing it wrong. Either way, it's there. SJP Sai joined me on that episode. For those who have listened, thank you very much. But this is back to solo shows for me at the moment. And we talked some Monday Night Raw. But how cool was Clash of the Castle? At the top of the show there, a bit of Broken Dreams. Absolutely love that track. Sat at home on my sofa when that kicked in, and it was freaking awesome. Let's face it. Clash of the Castle, I think, as we said in the show, massive success, and hopefully we can see more, and hopefully not have to wait 30 years for an arena show again over here in the UK. Absolutely great show. Raw actually this week was so far. We've had some returns. We've had some little Easter eggs things that I didn't even notice myself at the time. Somebody else pointed out to me, actually, luckily, so we're going to talk about that in a bit. But before we get into the meat and veg of Raw, there is some news I want to share with you.
We interrupt your regular broadcast to bring you this important news bulletin.
As announced, many of you have probably seen, it was announced on WWE.com that Triple H... Paul Levesque, obviously, has also been made now. He's been appointed Chief Content Officer as well. So he will this is what he's going to be overseeing. This is what they've reported on WWE.com, and he will oversee creative writing, talent relations, live events, talent development, and creative services. So I'm pretty sure, no matter what you see WWE, whether it be social media or on TV, premium events or whatever, Levesque is pretty much going to be in charge of all of that. But he does have to report to Nick Khan, who is the co-CEO of WWE. But to be honest, seeing Triple H even more, having more responsibility in terms of the content that goes out for us to watch, based on the last 3 weeks, let's keep it coming. According to WWE.com, it is there's a 15% spike in Monday Night Raw viewership. And basically double-digit increases overall social media engagement as well. So I think they're heading in the right direction. As I said, Monday Night Raw this week was really interesting. Kind of called we'll move straight into it, but I've kind of called it Dominic joining the Judgment Day. It was actually made official on Raw. So for those who didn't see it, Raw kicked off with Edge, basically talking about the fact that he's good friends with Rey Mysterio, stops in their house when they're down in San Diego, and basically wants to deal with Dominic as a WWE superstar after low-blowing him at Clash at the Castle and then actually clotheslining his own father. Interesting segment. Rey comes out and says that he wants Dominic to apologize. Edge wants to basically get his revenge, as you can imagine. Then Rhea Ripley comes out, cuts a bit of a promo, followed by Dominic in completely different attire, different demeanor altogether. And to be completely honest with you, it kind of suits him for me. I think he looks really good. I'm interested to see where this goes. Throughout the night, we've had a few different things of Rey Mysterio saying he won't strike his son or anything like that. So going forward, it's going to be interesting on how long will that take? Because obviously he's already struck his own father, so with a clothesline. But it is official. Dominic is aligning himself with the Judgment Day. It didn't happen at Clash of the Castle. So I was half right, which is good. But it was cool. The whole demeanor that Dominic has, I don't know whether it's the clothing he chose to wear or not. I don't know. But this heel thing, I think he could grow into. there was a couple of instances where he looked a little bit uncomfortable, but whether he's trying to portray that inner turmoil when Ray's being sort of hit and stuff and beaten down. So, but officially Dominic is in the Judgment Day. Edge got a bit of a beatdown. Dominic didn't get any whatsoever, but later in the evening, Rey Mysterio issued an open challenge to take on either Finn Balor or Damian Priest. This is where he said he would not strike his own son, basically. So, interesting to see where this is going to go. How long will he be in the Judgment Day for? How long before we see Dominic in action? Now, I say that. Towards the end of the show, they actually announced that Dominic is going to be putting out a open challenge to... I say an open challenge. It's challenging Edge next week on Raw, so we'll see if that actually happens. Judgment Day... all over Edge and Rey Mysterio. They're definitely on top and obviously got the momentum now, I think, with Dominic in there. We'll see what happens. Obviously, Ray's going to have that turmoil of trying to get through to his son, and this is going to play out for a while. We're moving on very quickly to... there was a Fatal 4-Way Tag Team match to determine the new challenges for the undisputed WWE Tag Team Championships. It's interesting, to be honest, because the match... I've never understood Fatal 4-Way tag team matches anyway, to be honest. So we had Humberto, Angel, Chad Gable, Otis, Angelo Dawkins, Montez Ford, and taking on Xavier Woods and Kofi Kingston in the New Day. There's always that four corners where you can tag anybody. And one of the other team, I can't remember who it was, tagged Kofi in. So you had Kofi and Xavier Woods. They kind of shook hands, and then Xavier Woods dived to the floor to get himself pinned, which makes no sense because that would make them win the match but also eliminate them, surely? I don't know. It made no sense whatsoever, to be honest. It was funny, but it made no sense at all. But there we go. I always thought Fatal 4-Way tag team matches either have a tornado tag team match with everybody in, or have each member of the team in the match. Again, I don't know how that would work either, but it didn't make any sense for the New Day versus New Day. It made no sense in that moment. Again, like I said, funny, but made no sense. But this match kind of became null and void anyway. As we mentioned on the show previously, we read that Braun Strowman was coming back. He has indeed returned. It didn't quite go to plan, I don't think, because he did trip at one point, but he did cause some mayhem, and the match basically, I think, was just waved off because Braun Strowman took out most of them. I don't think he touched the New Day or Montez Ford as much, but he did kind of lay out sort of Otis, Chad Gable, Angel and Humberto. So, but yeah, Braun Strowman is back, but he announced himself later on that he's going to be on SmackDown this Friday. Apparently, he is going to be a SmackDown superstar, so we'll see how that pans out. What I do like is, one, he's back. Two, they could have maybe done this a little bit better, but we'll see what happens on SmackDown before I cast too much judgment on it. It was nice to get him in, and the fact that he's dropped that sort of A-Train-esque music when they started doing that, the Strowman Express and stuff. We've seen it before with Albert and stuff like that, so I was just felt that it was just a rehashing, just a kind of a similar vibe of what A-Train was when he was A-Train. But I'm interested to see what Strowman does from here on out. And now it could have gone a lot better. I think this this re-debut, it wasn't perfect, but it was nice to see him back. And that Braun music, whenever Braun, it always is always cool to stuff's going down. And do you know what? In terms of another opponent for Roman, maybe down the line. I mean, Braun Strowman is a former Universal Champion, so build him up, and we could have a viable opponent to obviously wait for Cody Rhodes to come back, as Saiso eloquently put on the Clash of the Castle show. So interesting. I'm glad to see him back. The re-debut could have gone better, and I'm not going to moan too much about it, but it didn't. I don't think it quite went to plan, and you basically destroyed half your tag team roster when you're trying to build the tag teams up to see who's going to face the New Day. That doesn't look good for. Now I know Strowman's a monster. That's how they portray him. But you don't want... I just feel like you didn't want all of them to be knocked down and destroyed as they were. Again, cool moment to see him. but maybe it could have been done differently. I don't know. But again, I'm trying to reserve judgment a little bit until SmackDown on Friday, which obviously we'll talk about on Saturday. So now the little Easter egg thing that I didn't notice, but so after this happened, we had Raquel Rodriguez Aaliyah against Nikki ASH and Dewdrop. The new women's tag team champions went over and beat Nikki and Dewdrop. It was a good match, to be fair. Enjoyed it. I'm still not sold on Aaliyah, to be honest with you, but there we are. Well, I'm waiting for that this personality to come out. I've not quite seen it yet, so maybe I've missed it when she was NXT. Maybe I'm not sure. But the little Easter egg that it picks up later on in Raw, we see Nikki ASH kind of bickering with Dewdrop in the background while Damage Control are making their way to the ring, and Nikki throws her mask at Dewdrop. Obviously, she's doing that almost a superhero gimmick. So it looks like I did read rumors that she was going to be dropping it. It looks like, without really dropping it in front of the crowd, you're kind of doing it in the background, which we've seen a lot of in the last few weeks on Raw and SmackDown. These little snippets into, like, the world is still happening. The WWE Universe is still happening. These wrestlers are still having conversations, even though they're not on camera, which is quite nice. It's given a bit more depth, I think, to the universe. No pun intended there. But yeah, the new women's tag team champions won and moved on and sort of set them up for next week. Now, next week, they're going to be defending the tag team championships against Dakota Kai and Io Sky. So that'll be interesting to see where that goes. Hopefully it's not a title hop straight away, but we'll see how it goes. I always thought that Dakota Kai and Dakota should have won, but we'll see how it goes. Probably the match of the night for me we're going to get into now is so Austin Theory came out, cut a promo, said his jaw hurts. He actually fumbled over his words a little bit, which was quite funny, but then sold it as if his jaw was still hurting and telling the crowd to shut up, you're making my jaw hurt, which was quite cleverly done, actually, I think. Even though it's obvious that he made a mistake, I thought it was cleverly done. Kevin Owens comes out and mocks the fact that he hasn't cashed in Money in the Bank, and even if he did, he would have lost because he's been in the ring with both Drew and Roman in the past. As you'd imagine, this breaks down into a match. Even Kevin Owens says, now this is the part of the conversation where a referee comes down. Oh, look, a referee's come down. You could have run faster. It was really funny. And now we have a match. So it's almost like pointing out the fact that everybody knows what's going to happen rather than making out the audience is dumb. So there's a lot of breaking the fourth wall going on. Maybe maybe that'll change on how they do things. I don't know. But Kevin Owens defeats Austin Theory in a really good match, to be honest. There's a bit where Theory throws Kevin into the steel steps, and I don't mean just like normal, but actually Kevin is stood with his back towards the steps as if you were going to walk up them, and he throws him down into them, and it was like really like, oh my god. But it was a really good match. If I was to give my $9.99 for the network this week, I might start doing this as a thing. £9.99 goes to Kevin Owens and Austin Theory on Raw this week so far, because that was the match of the night for me. Really good. Kevin Owens goes over, which is a good sign. Maybe KO will be the next opponent for Roman or Drew, depending on what happens. Maybe leading into Extreme Rules. Maybe we'll have a triple threat. I don't know. The general consensus is I think Roman's going to keep it possibly till, Cy thinks, based on what he said on the Clash of the Castle show, the Supersize episode, was that we'll come back in the Rumble and he's going to beat Roman at WrestleMania. So Roman could have the title for a lot longer, by all accounts. I'm glad I was right in a sense of Roman retaining at Clash of the Castle, but I really wanted to see Drew winning, which would have been awesome. Bianca Belair actually interrupted Damage Control, Bayley, Io Sky and Dakota Kai in the ring. Bayley basically showing off that she's beating the women's champion, Raw Women's Champion. Obviously, this is going to lead into, at some point, those two going one-on-one. Bayley doesn't want any of Bianca Belair because they want to focus on the tag team titles next week. going to be interesting because in that particular moment, as everything's over, we have no allies for Bianca Belair whatsoever. So they could have quite easily taken her out, but they didn't. And see where this goes. I don't know whether we're going to see Bianca and Bayley at Extreme Rules. We do have several weeks to go. I believe Extreme Rules is on the 8th of October. So we've got 4 weeks. So, just under 4 weeks to go, really, before we have Extreme Rules. So quite possibly a lot can happen in 4 weeks, as you well know. So Damian Priest took on Rey Mysterio. Damian Priest answered the call. Again, I wouldn't say it was the match. Obviously, Kevin Owens' theory for me was the match of the night, but it was a good match. I didn't hate it. The story that's being told here with the fact that earlier in the night, Dominic actually stopped Rey from running back into the ring to help Edge when the Judgment Day laid him out earlier on in the night. Even to the point where Rey was going for the 619 on Priest and stood on the ring apron, so he couldn't do it. So Dominic's not actually physically touched Rey, but is guessing in the way and using that emotion from Rey to stop him winning matches, basically. And Judgment Day with dominant evening, basically, which is good. I'm very interested to see where this story goes, and it's only the beginning, obviously, so I haven't got much more to say about that at the moment, but I think Dom looked good in terms of this heel. You can kind of, whether this is meant to be doing this, I don't know, but it seems like Dom's kind of, should I, attack my dad, Rey Mysterio, or not? I don't know, but we'll see what happens next week. I'm interested to see I want to watch Raw now next week, in between Dom and Edge, and what Rey Mysterio's role will be in that, because obviously he's friends with Edge, but at the end of the day, Dominic is his son, despite the fact that Dominic has done what he's done. So it's going to be interesting. Like I said, overall, Raw was good. I enjoyed it. There isn't a moment really this week that I'm looking at it going, I wish that didn't happen, or that was... I mean, the only silly moment was the tag I said earlier with the Dominic and the... not Dominic, sorry, the New Day. And both New Day members getting tagged into this tag team match. Braun Strowman's return could have gone better. But again, I'm reserving judgment until SmackDown to see where this puts him in the pecking order in terms of the heavyweight championship, and if not, maybe it's not championship, or so whatever he's going to be doing. The main event this week on Raw was Miz taking on Bobby Lashley for the United States Championship in a steel cage. The irony of this is that Miz wants a steel cage because Dexter Lumis keeps getting involved in his matches, but Miz is the one who wants a steel cage, but he's locked himself in with Bobby Lashley. Really solid main event, to be honest. Very cleverly done. Tommaso Ciampa and Miz actually beat up Bobby Lashley before the match begins. Gives Miz a good advantage through the match as it goes. Goes back and forth. Miz almost escapes a few times. Bobby tries to get out, but he can't because of his left arm at what they did to him earlier. It looks like Miz is going to win. He's actually on top of the cage. There's a great picture of there's a great visual of Dexter Lumis just led under the ring with just his head and his sort of part of his sort of shoulders and a little bit of his torso poking out. All I could think of was Family Guy, hey, I poke out of my head. It was quite funny, to be honest. But because he's there, although I will say, we were watching it and we were like, why don't you just jump on Dexter from the top of, you jump on him, you'll incapacitate him briefly and you'll be the United States champion, but he didn't. He ended up getting scared. Bobby Lashley manages to, I think he actually falls back into the ring, actually, Miz, and then Bobby Lashley ends up literally just spearing Miz and retaining the United States Championship. But we do see after the match, Dexter Lumis made his way into the cage and locking the Awesome One in an arm triangle, sending the A-lister to sleep, basically. So we had obviously Dexter Lumis doesn't do a lot of talking, to be totally honest. So it's hard to know why he's targeting. We don't actually know why he's targeted the Miz, to be totally honest with you. But where this is going, I have no idea. Obviously, Dexter Lumis must have a problem with Miz. Obviously, does. He keeps stalking him. At first, I thought it was AJ Styles, actually, but then it ended up being the Miz. So, that's it, really, to be honest. It was a good Raw overall. I enjoyed it. I'm interested to see what happens on SmackDown. Obviously, we'll have Drew. Whether Roman's going to be there or not, I don't know. Obviously, we have a new member of the Bloodline as well. I haven't seen any match cards yet for this week. But yeah, solid show, I think, to be honest. Again, I've already said the one gripe. The one thing that came to me while watching the show, you have a lot of adverts, obviously. And what's annoying is you come back in the middle of a match and you feel like you've missed 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever you've missed, and you've missed part of the match. Now, the audience doesn't miss this. Obviously, they don't stop wrestling when it goes to advert. But I was trying to think how they could sort of make sure that doesn't happen. Now, they've got to time the show and they've got to put adverts in for their advertisers. I get that. And obviously, the more popular the show, the more people want to put their adverts between your segments of your show because your show is being watched by millions of people. Makes perfect sense. If we go back to old school, not even old school, it's not even that old. It's in the last 15, 20 years or something like. But if you go back to adding time limits to wrestling matches, we can have the first wrestler come down, go for a break, next one comes out. This match has a 15-minute time limit. That way the match finishes and concludes before the next ad break. And then we can have like a little tease at the end of the match, or we even go to break and have a wrestler attack the other wrestler after they've won. And, oh my God, what's going to happen? Blah, blah, blah. Then we come back and during the break, we have this. We have those occasionally, yes. But I feel like for a 3-hour show, which I've already said many times, it's 1 hour too long. But to cut out matches and contests, it's like, this is the reason we tune in. Obviously, yes, there's other entertainment elements, but a lot of us tune in to see the wrestling, which is good and been really good the last few weeks in WWE. So overall, if you introduce the time limits again, I think it's a good way. I think it could be a good way of eliminating that thing of not seeing the wrestling match. But then, of course, you'd have to have a lot more wrestling matches in a 3-hour show. So there's pros and cons to it. I just get frustrated when you're really into a match. And even the Kevin Owens Austin Theory match is a good example. I was really into that match. It was really good, and I recommend anybody watching it. In fact, I will say I would probably be talking about that match in the next 6 months, to be fair. So that's how I sort of kind of rate matches. I'm not going to give it a 5-star. I'm not freaking Dave Meltzer or anything. But if you watch any match from that episode of Raw, I would say Austin Theory versus Kevin Owens, and the main event was good. So I'm not gonna go much further into that, but yeah, it was really good, and and overall the show was good. So, but yeah, I feel if you can get time limits in there, you might be able to structure it in a way that when an advert comes up, the match is over. Maybe because obviously you can time it, but again, and that having a time limit also adds in other things you could do with matches as well. But yeah. Enough of me ranting, to be fair. Quite in and out this week. Thank you for listening to the show. Much appreciated. Can't wait for SmackDown. We'll bring you some more news and reviews coming out on Saturday for SmackDown. Hope you have a good week. And give us a follow at In The Corner WWE on Twitter and also at SJP World Media. Thanks for listening.
Cheers, please.